it's Jackie Balhais with Clumpin' Stampers, and I have just a short video today to give you some tips and tricks for putting together the cards in the Cool Treats collection. Now, some of you may have gotten the card kit from me, while others of you simply got the PDFs. So I'm going to kind of try to refer to the card kit as much as I can, but those of you that have the PDF know that you have all of the dimensions for everything so that you can cut them yourself. So just bear with me if I say in your kit you receive. But we've got 4 cards for you today, and I'm going to go through them one at a time. Okay, here's card number 1. And with each card, I'll just give you a few tips. I think the tips get less as we get to card 4 because some of it's somewhat repetitive. So let's just get on with card number 1. Now, actually, before we get on with card number 1, I wanted to show you this little diagram. And there is a picture of this in your PDF. This is all the images that you need to stamp and cut out to make one of each of the 4 different cards. So I like to kind of stamp everything, cut them all out, set them aside, then go ahead and create the cards. So if you'd like to do that, this just kind of shows everything. You can follow the diagram to know what you need for each card. So we'll just stick that aside. So let's talk about card number 1. Your piece of DSP on here might vary if you got the card kits, because I tried to use up different patterns. They all look awesome, so whatever you get, you get. But let's talk a little bit about making our treats. So first, I want to start with, I call it the dreamsicle. I remember eating these all the time when I was a kid, and they were so yummy. So a couple of tricks for doing this one. When you go to stamp it, and this is with quite a few of these images, I stamped off on scrap paper first to make it a little bit lighter, because then this detail part, I took full strength from the pad, so it's darker. So we're using Peekaboo Peach. We will ink it up, stamp it on scrap paper, and then stamp it onto the cardstock that I'm going to use to cut out. Now notice I am stamping on a paper piercing mat. Remember, with photopolymer, it's going to give you a much better image, especially with bolder stamps, because we need a little bit of cushion in there. So we're going to stamp that one, then we'll stamp our little detail piece on there, like so. Now it's ready to cut out. And you will notice there's no stem on there. Kind of like on my little cheat sheet I have for you, I don't have stems. I think it's easier to go ahead and cut it out with your Big Shot and just leave your stem white to begin. And then once it's all cut out, you can use the stamp that's supposed to be the stem, ink that up, and being photopolymer, we can see through it really easy. And I can just go ahead and stamp on top, and there we have our nice little creamsicle. Otherwise, I think to match it up would be a little bit difficult. Now, the thing you'll notice with these dies, which is different than any we've had before, let's see if I can show it to you here. So here's our magnetic platform. With these, I like to use that so the die stays in place. Now, something a little bit different here is the die is smaller than our image. Usually they're bigger so that you get a nice little white border all the way around it. But in this case, they do cut actually into the image, so it's completely colored. You don't get that white edge, but it makes it easy for lining up because there's some, playroom there. And what I'm looking at when I line mine up is making sure my stem is right at the base of it. And then that will, when I cut it out, give me the perfect spot to stamp the stem. So I'll go ahead and I'll cut that out. And then, like I said, stamp the stem, or the stick. I keep calling it a stem, it's not a flower. The stick I do use crumb cake, and we're ready to go. Now the added little extra touch I gave, and let's see if you can see it in the card. See the little white there? I thought it needed a little bit of dimension, and I wanted it to look like a creamsicle. So what I did is I cut another one out just in white, and then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to snip off the bottom, and I'm going to even snip almost like I'm making it a triangle. Because what we're going to do is just back this behind, but I wanted those little bite marks to show through. So I'm trimming off the white, and when I hold it there, I can see that I need to trim off just a little bit more white. Because you want it even, so all you see is that white part. And then I found glue dots work the easiest to adhere these. So I just put a glue dot on the back of my stamped one. And then we'll take this part and we'll match it up. It's kind of hard when it's so little to do it so you can see it here. Stick it on there, and there we've got our little, you can probably see it better there, part of our, and if any white's sticking out, which it looks like I still have white, just trim it off. It just adds a little bit more to it. So that's about all I really have to tell you for card 1. You're going to stamp your words, you're going to do the ice cream cone, which again are just 3 different pieces, and then go ahead and put it together. I did use dimensionals underneath underneath here, underneath my words, and also underneath this ice cream cone, so everything pops up because we like lots of dimension. So there's card number 1. Okay, card number 2. Everybody loves an ice cream sundae. Now, the ice cream pieces, I don't really need to tell you much on that. You will notice there's a striped background. I used on this one the Brushstrokes background stamp and did it kind of at an angle. If you don't have that stamp or a different background stamp to use, don't worry about it. Just leave it blank, okay? It looks fine without it. I just kind of thought I'd add a little bit to mine. Or you could even use an embossing folder and just emboss like the top part of this, leave the bottom unembossed so that you can stamp your words down there. But what I want to tell you about is the cherry. I did this very much like I did the treat on the last one, is you're going to want to just stamp your dot. Then when you put your cherry on here, okay, trying to not block you here, we're going to cut it out. It will leave your stem white, and then you can just go in and use either a green marker or a brown marker or even one of the stamps and just color the little stem part of it. Don't try to make the whole cherry and then cut it out because that makes it kind of difficult to line it up. And then our words here, you're the cherry to my sundae. You will notice it is one stamp, but I have 2 colors there. Now, many of you have been around and stamped for a long time and know that you can do that with markers. Okay, just put 2 different color markers on there. But I'm kind of lazy and I like to do everything quick and easy. So I'm only going to use 1 marker. What I actually did is I inked my stamp up in my watermelon. Sorry, I wobble a little bit. And then because my chocolate chip marker is so dark, I can actually go ahead and I can color on my stamp right over that watermelon. Okay, it will, it'll cover up the watermelon and it will look chocolate chip. And then once you have all of the chocolate chip on there, then you can go ahead and stamp it. And you'll see how nice that's stamped. It didn't matter that there was watermelon ink on there before I put the chocolate chip because it just covered it right up. So I think that's all the tips I have for card number 2. And here we have card number 3. Again, not a lot to tell you. You can look at your stamping diagram here and you'll see these are all the pieces that you need for this one. Again, we'll stamp the stem afterwards. But you'll notice with all of these, again, they are bigger than what's going to cut out, which is awesome because you've got some play, especially like in this one. Just stamp the detailed piece on top of it and wherever it lines up, it's going to be fine. Because look at how much smaller it ends up when you cut it. So I think it just makes it super easy that way to do them. So we're going to make our 3 treats. The words here, "You're sweet," are 2 separate stamps, so I was able to just stamp in Peekaboo Peach and Watermelon Wonder on that. My words, because the strip is so thin, okay, I did not pre-cut this little white piece because it's really hard to get the right size and cut it on there. So what I do is I just stamp and then I take my cutter and cut it really thin. Just stamp and then cut the other 2 pieces, and I put them on with a dimensional underneath, added the staple there just for a little added dimension. Now let's talk background a little bit. I did use the confetti embossing folder on this one. I know many of you have this, so I didn't feel bad with the card kit people using it. But the nice thing is the center of this does not emboss. That's how I was able to stamp "You're sweet" on here. Because it's nice and flat. Now, if you don't have this embossing folder and you're going to substitute a different one, you're going to end up with everything embossed on your layer. That's okay. Just go ahead and use scrap paper and stamp "You're sweet" on a piece of scrap paper, cut it out, and adhere it on the top of that. It'll just go on top of the embossing and it'll work just fine. So that's all I have for card number 3. And last but not least, this one's probably my favorite. This is actually an idea that came from Stampin' Up! And I pretty much copied it. I think I changed a few things. But I like how this one opens up and our front piece is smaller. Okay. Now, again, I'm not one that likes to score a lot. So I took my 8.5 by 5.5 piece. I folded it in half. And then I trimmed about 1 inch off of this side. Because if I was to trim 1 inch off first, then I would really have to score it to figure out where to fold it because I'm not folding it in the middle. Does that make sense? We just have a strip of DSP here, strip of DSP there. Before I adhered that, I did some sprinkles on it. 3 little treats. We know how to do the treats now. Your happiest birthday is embossed in white on there. If you do not know how to emboss, let me know and I'll forward to you another video that just shows embossing so that I don't have to make this one that long. And if you don't want to emboss, even just stamping with black on here looks really, really nice too. So if you don't want to haul out embossing powder, that's totally fine. Stamp the inside. And that's all there is for card number 4. So before I go, I just wanted to show you my handful of goodies here. When I first started playing with this stamp set, I just stamped out a whole bunch of different images. And I was playing with different colors, made different ice cream cones, and played, and then I started creating. So I thought it was kind of fun. They look kind of cute too. Makes me wish it was summer and I could have all those yummy things. I hope you've enjoyed the collection here. Cool Treats bundle is awesome. You could do so many different things with it. I really kind of hardly scratched the surface of what you can all do just in these 4 cards. If you do have the card kit, have fun making them. Those of you that just purchased the PDF, you should be able to real easily cut the supplies you need and make these cards as well. If you have any questions, make sure to ask me. I'm here to help you any way I can. And remember, you can always place your order at klompnstampers.com, and make sure you follow me on there too, because I post new ideas almost every day. So have a stamp happy day.